Did you have a good dance there, Kerry?
I did.
Right, this is going to get confusing today because I'm going to have to say two Kerrys.
Say babe for me.
I've got other names. Anyway, welcome all. I'm the untold story of the human GPS. See, before I actually froze, I was actually sharing the link into your group, Kerry. I was, but
awesome.
But the laptop wouldn't let me. But all I've got to say is welcome.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Now, I know we're all familiar here on MH Warrior TV, shall I say now. See, you got used to saying Warrior TV, didn't we?
We did.
It rolls off the tongue a lot easier, really. But yeah.
Yes. Right, I am joined by KD, Kerry. You all right?
I'm all right. How are you?
Shattered living with you, but it's all right. 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 Do you know what? This is really confusing. Shall I just do initials? KB, KD?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, let's do that. That's KB. For people that have never come across you before, they are new to our channel, explain a little bit about who you are.
Wow, who am I? I'm a lot of things. I'm Kerry. I'm a being having a human experience. I love my dogs. I love all animals. I love music. Music plays a huge part in my life, always has done. I live in the middle of the country, although I was born and grew up in the southeast. And I have this intense passion and desire to help people, which is why I do what I do today.
Adam, you forgot to do quick fire questions, you know.
What's the point in doing that? We already know what she likes and dislikes.
Because I had one for Kerry.
But go on then, you take over then. You're co-hosting, aren't you?
Yeah.
Go on
well,
then.
Co-host. Right, Kerry. Christmas trees in Halloween. Would you agree or disagree?
Neither, to be honest. No, quite honestly, I neither agree nor disagree. I'm all for whatever makes an individual happy, you know.
Does it make you happy?
Brilliant.
I don't have my Christmas tree up yet, but then I also don't have I don't do the Halloween decorations either, to be perfectly honest. But having said that, I have 2 sets of fairy lights up in my living room that have been up since Christmas about 3 years ago. And I still switch them on from time to time because it helps. It gives it that nice little sort of like ambient atmosphere, and you know.
Some people have fairy lights up all the time.
Yeah.
You know, as a decorative thing.
That's
it. Depending on where they are, it's a decorative feature.
Yeah.
I don't know if that specific word like, but
yeah. But no, I mean, you know, if having a Christmas tree up at any other time of the year other than Christmas makes an individual feel happy or helps to, you know, for that feel good factor, then go for it is what I say. There's no hard and fast rule to say that it shouldn't be up. So yeah.
Exactly.
No one done.
But anyway, moving on. So obviously today we're going to talk about you, Kerry, and the untold story of Kerry Burr. So
untold.
Go for it.
Oh, untold. I'm not sure that there's anything that people don't know about me, to be honest. What would you like to know?
More about you. Where did Kerry Burr grow up?
So I was actually born in Tunbridge Wells in Kent, in what was the nursing home, or maternity home, I should say, not nursing home. At the time, I believe it's now a car park. So I wasn't born in a car park, but you know.
That'd be a funny story if you was.
I was born in a car park.
You're destined to be on the road then, aren't you?
Oh, clearly, yeah. No, I was born in Tunbridge Wells, and I spent the first 4 and a bit years of my life living in a delightful village called Paddock Wood, with obviously my parents, and my brother came along during that time as well. And then when I was 4, we moved to a town called Tunbridge, which is not far from Tunbridge Wells and not far from Paddock Wood. But Tunbridge, incidentally, does have more history than Tunbridge Wells. So, I mean, I think the town is quite boring, but then I spent a huge part of my life there. But now I'm living away from the area. You know, I go back and I visit, and like everywhere at the moment, you know, it's constantly changing. But I find out little different things about it, you know, that I never knew before. So actually, it's probably quite an interesting place, really. I think it's one of those things that where we live, we tend not to sort of look at what's right on our doorstep, do we? We always go further afield to find these interesting places, when in actual fact, it's probably just as interesting right where we are.
There's nothing interesting about Darwin.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
In your opinion, somebody else that's visiting Darwin might actually think completely differently. But, you know, it's
just a service station between Blackburn and Bolton.
What? Where?
Basically, it's just a service station with a few houses.
Okay.
Well, more than a few, but you know what I mean. Yeah. In between Blackburn and Bolton.
Fair enough.
The only thing that we can say about Darwin is Dynamo was here a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we can say. I didn't even know, and I live here.
Well, I actually went. Quite a few people know this actually, and I'm kind of going to own up to something here. I went to my very first music concert, if you like, live music concert when I was 12 or 13, and it was in our local leisure centre. And I went with a few friends, and we saw Bucks Fizz. And we had the best evening, I have to say. It was the best evening. Yeah.
The only song of Bucks Fizz I can think of is that Land of Make Believe.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Yeah. Well, this concert was shortly after they'd won the Eurovision Song Contest with Making Your Mind Up. And they brought their album out, which has got that track on it. And but no, they were really good. Really good. Yeah.
In fact, so what other exciting things did Kerry Burr get up to while she was growing up?
Oh, I loved football. Loved playing football. And my favourite team at the time was Liverpool.
Sorry.
my brother supported Arsenal along with my granddad. So
now you're just going downhill.
The only football team I support these days is England. You know, I don't follow football really, but yeah. And Adam's disappeared. He's lost his internet connection. Bless him. Yeah. So yeah, I used to love playing football. I used to love riding my bike through the woods and stream jumping and climbing trees, and I just loved being outside. I think, you know, I loved camping.
Yeah.
Being out in tents, and yeah, just loved it.
Yeah, growing up, I think I were a bit the same. My friends would knock on the door, is Kerry coming out? And whenever I said no, these particular two, they were both boys, would come in the house and drag me kicking and screaming through the front door, and then I'd be dragged into whatever game they'd thought up. And generally it was football. So obviously me, I'm not a girly girl, so I got in. You know, I was in the net and I was very good at it until one of them hit me in the head. Might have knocked some sense into me, I don't know. Might have knocked some sense out of me. But I was like that. It was on one of there was skips across the road, and I climbed up on top of them thinking, brilliant, this is going to be fun, doing some front flips off it, and I ended up breaking my ankle. But, you know, that's just me.
Yeah, I've never broken a bone. Never ever broken a bone. No. I did badly sprain a foot once. I remember riding my mum's bike up the road, and my foot slipped off the pedal, and it if you can imagine, it slipped off the pedal and then went like that, and it's not supposed to go that way. And it was very painful. So I got off the bike and hobbled back up the road. And the following morning, my whole foot, my ankle was up like a balloon. So painful. So my parents took me to the hospital to have it x-rayed. And they x-rayed my other foot as well. There was nothing wrong with the other foot, but they x-rayed that too. No break, no fracture showed up. It was just a really bad sprain. But what the x-ray did show up is that I have an extra bone in each foot.
Yeah.
So I have two more than most people in my body.
Yeah. We've got a comment from Adam.
Yeah.
The laptop is frozen and it's kicked him out and it won't let him back in.
Never mind.
He was quiet in the corner anyway, so
Adam, you'll have to put questions up in the comments and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, we will. I'm sure he will do. He's just put a message into the group chat as well, so we might have some other warriors jumping on.
Cool.
Hey ho. So how did you get into doing your NLP?
Crikey. Well, I've kind of I've always known that I wanted to help people right from a very young age. I wasn't entirely sure in exactly what capacity I wanted to help others. Through much of my adult life, I kind of accidentally became a confidant, a go-to person for help, advice, guidance, if you like, from a few friends and a few work colleagues over the years. And I have to say, it gave me a real sense of purpose, no matter what my job was at the time, what I was being paid to do. Yeah. When these people came and spoke to me, it really did give me a huge sense of purpose. And I came to realize that was how I had to help others. But in exactly what capacity, I still wasn't sure. And a very good friend of mine, she suggested to me one day that I should become a counsellor. And so I started looking into it. Now, at this point, I will say that I have received counselling myself. And I can't say that I had a particularly great experience with it. I mean, it wasn't bad, but after several months of going along on a regular basis and talking to this counsellor, I was no further forward than I was when I first went along. It was literally a case of I turned up, I sat there and spoke for an hour, I paid the counsellor and went home, came along to the next session. Excuse me, it was literally rinse and repeat. I was getting, very little feedback from the counsellor. So after about 6 months, and I wasn't moving forward at all, I wasn't getting anything out of it other than being able to offload, but I was still no clearer about things at that point. So I decided that it wasn't for me. I couldn't see the point in me continuing that avenue. So I then realised that being a counsellor, I mean, it is a lot more than just being somebody that sits and gets paid for somebody else to talk to for an hour. They serve a really great function. They do a great job with a lot of people, and counselling works really well for an enormous amount of people. But it wasn't the way I wanted to move forward. So my search continued. And I kind of believed that I needed to experience more life first before I was able to be effective in helping other people. And so after that, I ended up in a relationship which wasn't great. When I say it was abusive, I'm not talking physical abuse. It was mainly mental and emotional abuse. There was the odd bit of physical abuse thrown in for good measure. I experienced a nervous breakdown towards the end of 2006. And by 2007, February 2007, I'd had two-hour assessments at the local psychiatric ward or wing at the local hospital. And they decided that I needed, because I was severely depressed, according to them, that was their label, not mine. I needed at least an hour a week of psychotherapy for a minimum of 12 months. As I say, in February 2007, that was decided. I received a confirmation letter from the mental health team confirming that and confirming my first appointment, which they'd booked me in for on the 29th of August that year. So I was faced with having to wait 6 months to receive treatment, which I considered to be, psychotherapy is like up from just plain counselling. And I just remember thinking, why the hell, if I'm tired, why have I got to wait that long for some treatment? As it was, I got myself back to work, and then I was offered the opportunity to relocate with that company. So I then, on the 24th of August 2007, I was driving from where I was living in Kent up to Liverpool. And so I lived and worked in Liverpool for the next year. Since leaving
the
Midlands,
go sort kids out.
Since coming down to the Midlands, I started to look into pursuing my purpose, if you like, a lot more seriously and in a lot more detail. And I still wasn't happy with, I was still looking at possibly, studying and training to become a counsellor. But then I kind of thought that I wanted to specialise in a particular area rather than just being a bog standard counsellor. But it still wasn't sitting right with me. And then one day I stumbled across this thing called life coaching. And I thought, oh, that sounds a bit interesting. So I looked into that a bit further, and I realised then that was very much more along the lines of what I wanted to do. It was, it was resonating with me because it's a lot more hands-on, if you like. It's about moving forward from now rather than keep revisiting the past and pulling things apart and analysing every tiny little aspect of whichever event, which I know for some people works wonderfully, but it wasn't how I wanted to do things. So as I looked into that a lot further, I also then stumbled across this thing called NLP. So I investigated that a bit further and realised that, with all of it combined, it was the perfect platform for me to move forward with. So, yeah, although it still took a few more years before I actually was able to do proper in-depth training and studying, it was there. I know exactly what it was that I wanted to do. And so, if you like, in the essence of the law of attraction, I manifested it. I had that clear vision, and I knew that one day that's what I'd be doing. And here I am.
Yeah.
Doing it.
And speaking of law of attraction, do a little promotion now instead of the end of the video. Me and Adam are starting our brand new show tomorrow with our latest arrival, Anthea. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Sorry, Anthea. But she's our abundance warrior, and the new show is called The Warriors of Attraction, and it'll be tomorrow night, 8 p.m. UK time. Please tune in for that.
Sounds wonderful.
I'm looking forward to that, because obviously it'll be the first time that me and Adam have got our own show and it's together. So, and obviously we used to have Coffee Morning, but then it handed over to you. And we've just been jumping around supporting the other warriors with their shows and handling all the one-on-one shows. But now it'd be nice to have that one thing every week that me and Adam can sit together, talk, do our thing, enjoy the show, and have a little bit of fun while we do it. And hopefully the warriors will come on and support us like we've been doing. Adam, I have a question. Do you think the mental health warriors gave you an opportunity to grow within yourself, grow within your business and yourself? Sorry.
Yeah, I think it has, to be fair, because it's enabled me, it's given me the opportunity to have a look at mental health and learn more about it. I mean, I know we all have it. It's something I'm very passionate about. I always have been. And you know, it's part and parcel of our own well-being and health. So, you know, as I said, I've always been really passionate about it, and believe that we should all be paying as much attention, if not more, to our mental health as we do to our physical health, because the two are very much linked. And that's something that I cannot stress enough to everybody, that, you know, the two go hand in hand. And yeah, you can have reasonable physical health without having particularly great mental health. But if you've not got particularly great mental health, you might think that you're physically healthy, but actually you don't know what's going on underneath the skin there, underneath the surface, because what goes on in your mind will affect what goes on in the rest of your body. So it certainly has helped me. It's given me that opportunity in that respect. And yeah, it's helped me to be a lot more aware as well. A lot more aware.
Yeah. So what do you think of the mental health warriors altogether? Do you think we're doing a good job, or do you think we could improve in any way?
No, I think you're doing a great job. You know, you're out there every day, and you know, there's a wonderful team of warriors, each with their own attributes and their own abilities and what have you, and we all contribute something unique to the whole movement, really. You know, because we're all very different. We've all had very different experiences. We all have very different passions and purposes, if you like, but such that we can all come together. We can all use those things together, and provide this amazing platform for people that are feeling it at the moment and need a bit of help, need a safe space. So
yeah, and obviously it's a common thing now where we're hearing the words that you just said, which are brilliant, by the way. You know, from everyone we've spoken to, everyone that we're reaching out to that haven't been a guest just yet, maybe looking to be a guest. We are all unique. We've all got our own stories, and we want to invite as many people as we can onto the Mental Health Warriors. But right now, obviously, the show's about you. So we're going to delve a little bit deeper. I know you've told us off camera, obviously I'm a bit wary of how much you're going to let go while we're live, but you told us about the bad times you've been through with your ex-partner. So can you tell us a little bit more about it?
There isn't really much to tell, to be perfectly honest. You know, I'd come out of a marriage that wasn't working, and I went headlong into this other relationship that just, it didn't work, basically, you know. And as I've said before, you know, there was abuse there. I suppose, you know, you could consider it narcissism in a way, I guess. You know, it was mental, emotional, and occasionally a little bit of physical thrown in. Me being on the receiving end of all of that. But it was a great lesson for me, great learning experience, because I know that there are certain people out there that would believe that I actually manifested all of that. You know, well, here's the thing. People don't go into relationships thinking, oh, great, you know, this is going to be an abusive relationship. That's what I want. You know, the same way as people don't wake up in the morning and think, oh, I think I need a coach. You know, people will wake up in the morning and think to themselves, oh, you know, I've got this problem. How on earth do I deal with it? The same way as people go into a relationship believing that, you know, they're pretty certain about how they feel about that other person and what they want from that relationship. And you kind of get to a point where you will do almost anything to make that other person happy. But you're not responsible for their behaviors. And, you know, we all choose to respond and react in the ways that we do. And as I mentioned before, we're all very individual. We're all very unique. We all have our own experiences, and, you know, they're very, very different from each other's. I've said it before many times, but I will say it again now. You and I, Kerry, we could sit in exactly the same room together and watch the same film on the television. Yeah. And now, depending on what frame of mind and how you're feeling at that time, and depending on my frame of mind and how I'm feeling at that time, we will both have a completely different experience of watching that film. Yeah. Go back to it a bit later and watch the same film again, because again, you're in a different frame of mind and feeling differently. You will have yet another completely different experience of that film, and it will be the same for me. Okay, so no two people in the same place, looking at the same thing, watching, listening, whatever, no two people will have exactly the same experience of that particular event. Yeah. So
yeah, and I've got a great example of that. At the start of my and Adam's relationship, one of the first times that me and him went out together, our first date, if you want to say, we went to the cinema and we watched Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and I found it a brilliant film.
Yeah.
And it was a brilliant night as well, because afterwards we went for something to eat as well, which was brilliant. And he was he was a gentleman with me that night. I will say that. Yeah, but then we've watched it again, and it's just, I don't like this film anymore. You know, my opinion of the film has changed because I've had time to come away and process it and think about it and think it's not a film that I'd actually watch again. I mean, I have still watched it a couple of times since, because every anniversary Adam brings up, oh, let's watch Curious Case of Benjamin Button. And if it's going to shut him up for an hour or so, I'll sit there and watch it with him. Because I know there's films that he hates that I love that I can get him back with.
Yeah, but you see, here's the thing, right? You were in a completely different place in your mind. You were in a completely different place in how you were feeling. And you were in a completely different place geographically when you first watched that film with Adam. So watching it again at a later date, you know, there's a lot of things have happened between the first time you've watched it and the next time you sat and watched it. And you are in a different place geographically. You will be in a completely different frame of mind, and you will be feeling differently as well. So, and I think sometimes when we go back to things like that, it's like my memories of being in St Ives in Cornwall for a weekend are absolutely wonderful, even though it was the weekend that I realised that my marriage wasn't working, and I realised why it wasn't working. It was still, to me, it was a wonderful place. I remember, although it being very cold because it was in November that we went. It's just a beautiful place. I love Cornwall anyway, but there weren't many people around, so we weren't competing with a whole load of tourists. We were sort of one of very few tourists in the area. But it was clear blue sky and sunshine, and maybe it wasn't always like that, but those are the memories that I have of that particular occasion. Now, if I was to go back to St Ives now, which I would love to do at some point, I will have a completely different experience of the place. So, just, I know that we'll take films as an example. There are a number of films that I can sit and watch time and time and time again and never tire of watching them. Equally, there are films that I've sat and watched and thoroughly enjoyed. And then when I've sat down to watch them again at a later date, I've got about 10 minutes in and thought, no, I'm not enjoying this right now. I need to watch something completely different. And it's because I'm in a different place in my mind, my frame of mind, and because I'm feeling differently, But that's not to say that I wouldn't enjoy watching that film again on another day.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like our friend up in Scotland has suggested that we watch this Lock and Key on Netflix. And Adam likes it. I can't get into it. It's just one of those things that it's weird. It's a little bit weird. I can see why people like it, but personally, not for me. So we've started watching something else.
Yeah, it absolutely. It's I've had friends over the years who absolutely thoroughly enjoy watching the Formula One racing. I find it so boring.
I'm one of these, I'll watch it every now and then. No. I can't sit there and watch a full match. Full race, sorry.
No, I have absolutely no interest whatsoever in Formula One racing. But then I could watch the motorbikes. Quite happily watch the motorbikes. It's crazy because it's the same courses, the same racetracks, just different vehicles.
Yeah. Adam's just said he doesn't like Formula One. He doesn't like cars. He's the only bloke I know that doesn't like cars.
But again, as we get older, because we are experiencing all sorts of different things, we're growing as individuals as well, and our circumstances change, our environment changes, the people that we socialize with and associate ourselves with, they change. We're all of us are growing all of the time, and it's perfectly okay to thoroughly enjoy a film the first time you watch it and then actually not be interested in it at all the second time you watch it. It's perfectly okay to like me when I was a kid, loving football. I used to love playing football. I wasn't that keen on watching it on the television, but I did follow Liverpool Football Club. And then, to be honest, as I grew older and grew away, I moved away from playing football and more. I got more and more involved in music. So, football was it wasn't interesting to me anymore. I stopped following the football teams. And it wasn't until I actually moved to Liverpool when I relocated in 2007, I realised that where I was living was a stone's throw away from Goodison Park, obviously Everton's ground, And Anfield, Liverpool's ground, was literally 10 minutes in the car. And when the teams were playing at home, obviously Everton, I knew exactly when they were playing at home, because the supporters would be walking outside the front of my house, down the road to the stadium. And of course, they were all wearing their blue and white hats and scarves, and it would be a family outing. Never any trouble at all. And occasionally, I could hear, if Liverpool were playing at home, particularly of an evening, all I had to do was stand outside my front door, and I could hear the crowd, and it was just amazing. I hear the crowd in the stadium. So I did start watching their matches, because, and I did find it quite interesting, actually, because for Liverpool, for the most part, the city is very much a football culture. They're very much you're either a blue supporter or a red supporter, and it's very, very rare that you actually hear of anybody that supports Tranmere Rovers. But whenever Liverpool or Everton had played the night before, there was always conversation going on in the office. So as well, it was by watching the match. I mean, I may not have known who the players were at that point, but it meant that I understood what was being spoken about, what was being talked about, and I could join in with the conversation as well. And there was always that banter, a bit of banter between the Everton and Liverpool supporters in the office, but it was never nasty,
Yeah.
I mean, I used to hear all these rumours about there being clashes between the supporters of both teams up there, and it just wasn't true at all, any of it. There was never any problems, never.
Yeah. I used to live in Liverpool myself, lived in Bootle, so it was literally a train ride from Anfield and Everton. Everton Stadium, hey ho.
Yeah.
It was one of them. And yeah, it was on Derby Day, where Liverpool versus Everton. That was the only day where there'd been more banter, if not, there'd been more banter than everywhere else. But then they'd still walk down the road towards Anfield or Goodison, whichever stadium they were playing at that day. Liverpudlian is the correct word, and Evertonians walking down side by side, and you get these little kids, that have got one player from Liverpool on, and one have got a player from Everton on, and they'd walk side by side to be kicking the ball together, because that's what sort of city it is. It's such a fantastic city, and it broke my heart being dragged away from Liverpool. It did. I remember crying all the way back from Liverpool.
I must admit, when I left Liverpool, I was sad to leave. Liverpool is a very special place for me, for lots of different reasons. Not least of all the fact that it's an amazing city. There's a lot of history there, a lot of culture. And the people are just so friendly. My first night there, I remember I had to stop off at one of those, a little Sainsbury's store to pick up a few supplies. And when I went to the checkout with my basket, the girl that was on the till there, she started chatting away to me as if, we'd known each other forever. And I thought, crikey, I'd never experienced that before. And it was like, yeah, I'm going to like it up here. And I go back whenever I can. It's been a few years since I was last there. But yeah, I do go back whenever I can. So I love the place. Absolutely love the place. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it as well. The only thing stopping me from moving there is the social services in that area. Shocking. And I won't move to an area that's got a shocking social services when I've got my kids. That's the only reason. But other than that, I go down as much as I can for shopping, and just a day out in Liverpool. I know it's never enough, because I always want to go back again, because you need as much time as you can in Liverpool.
Oh yeah, it's a long weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Easily, if not longer. There's so much to do and see there. I consider myself very, very fortunate that when I first went there, I was able to spend a few months living in a house that was owned by the company I was working for at the time. And it was on a relatively new development that was just along from the Albert Dock. So it was right there on the right by the Mersey. And it was literally just a 10-15 minute walk into the city centre. You know, looking out the back of the property, you could see the Anglican Cathedral up, you know, on the sort of way up the hill there. And looking out the front of the property, initially you were looking out onto like a dry dock, if you like. But then beyond that was the Mersey, you know, and just a short walk along on that riverbank took you along. But they were building the Echo Arena at the time when I was there. But yeah, you just follow it along right the way along to the Albert Dock, up to the Liver building, and yeah, love the Albert Dock.
Yeah.
Really
Did you ever get a chance to go on to the ferries?
No, it was the one thing that I never have done.
Oh, you missed a trick there. Whenever you go on the ferries, you play a song.
I was going to go on. I was going to go and do it the last time, not the last time I was there, but the last time I stayed there for any length of time. And it was just because I was house and pet sitting on the Wirral. I was there for about 10 days. It's got to easily be about 10, 11, maybe 12 years ago, something like that now. But yeah, I was helping out some friends and had some wonderful weather. And I actually got to visit some of the coastal areas, you know, West Kirby and places like that. And I went out. I actually walked out. There's a set of islands. I can't remember what they're called, and I took loads and loads of photos, and it was lovely because the tide was out. You literally just walked across the beach and you went to each of these different islands, and then walked back again. And it was a good afternoon's, you know, expedition, if you like. But yeah, I was also shown this fantastic spot in Birkenhead. Again, right, it was like a viewpoint, if you like, right by the river, where you were looking across and you got an amazing view of the skyline, the Liverpool skyline. It was fabulous. So I took a whole load of photos of that as well. And it has changed a bit since then because they've had other buildings in place, and obviously the Echo Arena was completed by that point as well. So that was a different view on the landscape there. But yeah, no, I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Next time you go to Liverpool, you get a chance to go onto the ferries, and you can go around in a full circle. It takes about half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. But they play a song, "Ferry Across the Mersey." Yeah. I love that song. I cannot suggest it.
Jerry and the Paisley.
I love that. I love that song. I can't sing. But you know what? I recommend it to anybody. Go to Liverpool, go onto the ferries, and just sit and just go onto the ferries and just do the full circle. It stops at Birkenhead on the Wirral side for about 5 or 10 minutes to pick up anybody that wants to cross over to the other side, and then it comes back round again. And you can do the full thing. It's not very expensive either. And you know what? It's absolutely amazing because you get that fresh air. You're on the River Mersey, on the ferry, surrounded by loads of wonderful people, and you've got the song, and it just instantly makes you smile. If you lived in Liverpool, go and do that every weekend when you feel rubbish. Honestly. How you'd feel rubbish in Liverpool, I don't know. I wouldn't, anyway. But that's just me. Adam did ask a question. Let me just find it. When you was invited onto the Warrior team, what vision did you see for you? What vision did you see for you, and what made you want to say yes?
I didn't really see a vision for me specifically. You know, it was just for me, as I've said before, is an opportunity to get involved in raising awareness as far as mental health is concerned, and being part of something that gives people who are struggling with their own mental health a safe space to just be, to talk if they want to. You know, it's never been about me specifically. Because as I've already said, you know, there is a whole team of us, and, you know, a whole team of wonderful, amazing human beings who are all here for pretty much the same sort of thing, really. You know, we're all here to help and do what we can.
Yep. Before we finish, Adam's popped up with a reminder. Tomorrow, 1 p.m, Abigail Price, our musical warrior, is here for Music as Medicine, and she's joined by an amazing guest. So tune in if you want to hear some amazing songs. She's brilliant at singing, guys. You'll love her. And I believe she's working on a debut album. That might be a bit of a spoiler alert. Sorry, Abigail, if I wasn't supposed to mention that. But hey ho. Thanks for joining us, Kerry. You've been amazing as normal.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Sorry for the technical issues with Adam. Don't know what's going on with my laptop. No idea. I'm using the same Wi-Fi and I've been fine. Maybe it's just the laptop doesn't like him today.
Never mind.
Oh well. Okay. So thanks again, and please tune in tomorrow where we've got Abigail's show, Music as Medicine, and then the premiere of Warriors of Attraction with me and Adam. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.